Good morning and welcome. I'm Andrea Purnell, a St. Louis County resident and proud member of the Regional Arts Commission Board. I'm excited to serve as your host today for our town hall meeting. In March of 2020, many of us were gathered here together to launch Regional Arts Commission's first 5-year strategic plan. A lot has changed over the last year. The COVID crisis has had a significant impact, both financially and socially, for individuals and organizations across the globe. Racial reckoning and Regional Arts Commission search for a new leader have all kept us, what can I say, busy to say the least. During this special webinar, you'll hear from Mont, Levy, our Commissioner Chair, and from our new President and CEO, Vanessa Cooksey. They will share what we've learned, what we've done since March of 2020, and what our plans are to support our local arts organizations in 2021. We'll also have time at the end of this town hall for a Q&A. Some of you have submitted your questions in advance, which we greatly appreciate. And we'll ask that those of you that are attending today that would like to, please provide us with questions using the Zoom feature. Just a few housekeeping reminders. Again, if you'd like to submit a question, use the Q&A during that portion of the program, and this meeting will be recorded and available on our website for you to view on demand. We also encourage you to share this with your network to watch as well. To kick us off, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. Mont Levy is our president of the commission. He is a passionate advocate for the arts and an engaged civic leader. He served as the chairman of RAC's Board of Commissions since 2018 and has been instrumental in leading the Regional Arts Commission through a significant challenge and change. Without further ado, here's Mont.
Thank you, Andrea. As Andrea said, I was appointed to the commission by the St. Louis County Executive in 2017, and I have served as chair as a regional citizen for nearly 3 years. I've been proud to serve on the commission during an extraordinary time for RAC. Both staff and commissioners have been working diligently to serve the region's celebrated arts and cultural community. RAC plays such an essential role in supporting and promoting the arts and the community of artists that make it happen. To all our constituents with us today, I want to say thank you. Thank you for all that you do to keep our art vibrant, relevant, and compelling. I applaud the extraordinary creativity that has been displayed in this most challenging pandemic time. As I begin, I'd like to acknowledge my fellow RAC commissioners. I am grateful to each of them for their many contributions to RAC. In recent months and years, there's been a significant turnover on the commission. Our governance committee, ably chaired by Kelly Trivers, has worked closely with the city and county officials to fill all the seats on the commission with excellent individuals committed to the arts in our region. Our goal is to assure that fresh ideas and energy are ever present and that the commission represents multiple voices and varying experiences to assure the best thinking is brought to our deliberations and decisions. This past year has been a very challenging one, and the commissioner's commitment on behalf of RAC has been nothing short of awesome. I'd like to introduce and thank each of them. Our officers are Cheryl Walker, our vice chair, who was appointed by the mayor. John Russell, our treasurer, was also appointed by the mayor. And Andrea Purnell is our secretary, our today's host, who was appointed by the county executive. Our newest appointees have all been appointed in 2021. 2 have been appointed by the county executive and are Rhonda Carter Adams and Sam Fiorello. Our most recent appointee is from the city, Heather Corcoran. Our more tenured commissioners appointed by the county executive are Jerry Gennaria, Vin Coe, and David Carl Wilson. And those appointed by the mayor are Roz Johnson, Wally Salade, Kelly Trivers, and Mary Walsh. I'd also like to thank those commissioners whose service ended in 2021. Eva Fraser. Eva was appointed by the mayor and served on the commission from 2004, with many years as the outstanding chair of our grants committee. Cindy Colbury was appointed by the county executive and began her service on the commission in 2013. During her tenure, she provided excellent guidance on the finance, HR, and strategic planning committees, among others. And finally, Michael Scully, who was also appointed by the county executive and served on the commission from 2003 and was our outstanding chair and my predecessor for nearly 5 years. We thank all of them for their years of dedicated service. As Andrea said, on March 11th, 2020, RAC gathered our community to the Palladium to launch a new and exciting strategic plan. We gathered with a shared sense of optimism and new vision. Within days, the coronavirus pandemic upended life for RAC and the artists and arts organizations that we serve and support. With little certainty of what the future would bring, but already seeing the early devastation to the art world and gig economy, RAC acted quickly to make difficult decisions about its funding and operations. In partnerships with our interim executive director, Celia Hostler, the commissioners made a number of important decisions. We immediately converted all program grants to general operating support. We guaranteed full funding of both previously committed 2019-20 grants and 2021 grant awards at a greatly reduced level commensurate with our expected funding. But this was done knowing we would significantly deplete RAC's reserves to meet these commitments. In addition, we reduced general operating expenses, furloughed and laid off staff, canceled or postponed both new and existing programs. And in keeping with our commitment to transparent communication, all of our actions were communicated to the community as quickly as possible, and then further detailed in a mid-year report that we released in September of 2020. Despite our own challenges, we took advantage of opportunities to partner, advocate, and champion and invest in the arts and culture sector of our region. As the leading public funder of the arts in St. Louis and the only public funder with a mandate to support artists, in April 2020, RAC committed $100,000 to establish the Artist Relief Fund in partnership with the St. Louis Community Foundation. In May, we partnered with the arts community, which produced the outstanding Arts United STL virtual benefit concert, beautifully hosted by our own Andrea Purnell. Our combined efforts resulted in raising over $500,000 to support 600 local artists whose livelihoods were directly impacted by COVID-19. In September, thanks to the general support of the Centene Charitable Foundation and additional RAC funding, we launched Capacity Building STL in partnership with the Voss Institute of Arts Management at the University of Maryland. Designed to build a stronger arts ecosystem across all disciplines, 31 local arts and cultural organizations are participating in a free 2-year capacity building program. This program has proven to be particularly timely, as all organizations, big and small, have faced special challenges that the DeVos professionals have helped each navigate. Throughout the summer and fall, RAC worked to support and promote the newly created Missouri Arts Safety Alliance. MASA represents the partnership of nearly 20 arts funders and not-for-profit arts organizations representing the St. Louis and Kansas City regions. The Missouri Arts Safety Alliance was formed to assist with the development of standards, guidelines, and protocols for arts venues that will support the safe reopening of our venues throughout the state. In November, with much available data in hand about the national impact of COVID on the arts sector, RAC completed a local COVID impact survey to gain a deeper understanding about the impacts of COVID-19 in St. Louis. With over 270 participants, the survey provided RAC with valuable information that will help inform our grants and programming in the coming months. The data clearly confirmed what we all know. The impact of COVID has been devastating on the artists and arts organizations alike, and that recovery will take more time than any of us initially expected. Throughout the year, RAC's work on diversity, equity, and inclusion has increased. Our DEI committee has taken on the vital work of designing both internal and external processes and procedures to assure both RAC and our grantees are fully engaged in this important work. In recent months, RAC staff has received both external training and engaged in regular discussions to assure a shared understanding and commitment to DEI practices. And despite the many tragic events revealing the need for greater social justice in St. Louis and our nation, we have been heartened to see a deep level of commitment and action to DEI by many arts organizations throughout the region. In the spring of 2020, in the midst of all the difficulties caused by the pandemic on RAC and our constituents, we undertook a national search for a new leader for RAC. It's important to know that throughout the search and based on the best information available, RAC expected its full funding to really return substantially in 2021 and beyond. And that's exactly what we told our candidates. Our search brought us many highly qualified candidates from around the country. This candidate pool affirmed two important things. First, how desirable the RAC leadership post was considered to be. And second, we heard the overwhelming belief that RAC's strategic plan set forth a vision and priorities that were on the mark for the work of RAC that we should be doing now and in the future. In the end, we were thrilled to choose a candidate already established in St. Louis, who understands our community and is committed to RAC's strategic plan and its priorities. Vanessa Cooksey is a highly respected leader in St. Louis, who has worked at the cross-section of the arts and many important sectors of our community life. She is known as a champion of equity, diversity, and inclusion, and brings strong communication, marketing, and grant-making experience to RAC. It's important to understand that Vanessa began her role as president and CEO in early November, just as new projections for ongoing depressed hotel-motel taxes were made available. From her first day on the job, Vanessa has been dealing with the economic reality that additional dramatic actions with regard to both staff and programming would be required. While Vanessa will describe RAC's responses in greater detail, I want to thank her for her bold leadership and ask that the entire community appreciate the extraordinary challenges that she has dealt with from the start. Vanessa has offered a steady hand and a sense of positivity in the face of severe financial realities, as she herself is getting onboarded in her new role. She has worked closely with staff and the commission to assure RAC's short-term stability and begin to create plans for how RAC will realize the vision we all share for RAC's future. It is my pleasure to introduce RAC's new president and CEO, Vanessa Cooksey.
Thank you, Mont, and thank you, commissioners, for affording me this awesome leadership opportunity. Serving as president and CEO of RAC is an apex moment in my career. RAC envisions a full creative life for every St. Louisan, and I am grateful that I can say that this is truly my dream job. I get to bring all of my professional experiences and networks, as well as my lifelong love of the arts to this work. I am able to do this work because I have a loving family and a global village of friends that inspire me and encourage me. I also appreciate the overwhelming support that I've received from so many of you since I joined RAC. Thank you. Now, I knew that starting a new role in a pandemic would be a challenge, and in many ways, that's what's exciting about it for me. I figure if we can make it through this, we can make it through anything. I spent my first 100 days listening, learning, and responding to the needs of our ever-changing environment. I focused on gaining a deep understanding of our finances and our staffing model, as well as our strategic plan, which serves as the roadmap for RAC's regional impact over the next 5 years. The pillars of our strategic plan remain unchanged. Now more than ever, RAC has to be an advocate, partner, and catalyst for the arts sector in our region. Everything we do will ladder up to the 4 pillars: growing capacity for our artists and arts organizations, advancing arts education, and increasing equity in the arts, and strengthening our organizational infrastructure. Now, before I detail what we plan to achieve in 2021, I think it's very important for me to share with you what I learned about the financial impacts of COVID-19 on RAC. There are 6 things you should know that this chart demonstrates. 93% of RAC's revenue comes from hotel motel sales tax. There's a natural lag between when hotel motel sales tax are earned and when they are received by RAC. That lag is anywhere from 30 to 90 days, depending on when the sales tax is earned. That lag is often lengthened when there is a downturn in the economy. Economic recovery for RAC takes years. As you can see, back in 2008 with the Great Recession, it took nearly 3 years for RAC to fully recover its revenue to pre-recession levels. 2019 was also our best revenue year over this 14-year period of analysis. In RAC's founding legislation, there is a mandate that not more than 15% of our total annual revenues can be spent on administrative and staffing expenses. RAC receives its largest revenue deposits quarterly in February, May, August, and November of each year. What this chart really demonstrates is the impact, the long-term impact of COVID-19 on RAC's revenues. This first column represents 2019 revenues. So you can see each quarter, February, May, August, and November, we had progressive increases, which were great. Now keep in mind, I mentioned the lag. You'll notice in February of 2020, we had an uptick in revenues. You'll see that in the brown column in the middle. That's because those sales tax were earned in Q4 of 2019. And we all remember celebrating the Blues win of the Stanley Cup, right? So when you look at February of 2021, which is that third more kind of coffee latte color column, that demonstrates the revenues that were earned in Q4 of 2020, the height of the COVID pandemic. So what this shows is each quarter, RAC's revenues decrease. Our revenues will not recover as quickly because of the significant impact. This creates a very volatile environment in which we have to make decisions monthly and quarterly in real time. So what can you expect as far as revenue projections for the next 4 years? Each year gets better and better, and I am personally very thankful for that. That is the good news. When you look at the projections for industry forecasts, we will not see pre-pandemic revenue until 2024 and 2025. What that means for us is that from an administrative and staffing perspective, in order for us to meet our statutory requirement of not spending more than 15% of our annual revenues on these expenses, RAC will have to stay lean for several years to come. In 2021, we are focused on 2 things: strengthening our organizational infrastructure and advancing our arts sector leadership. I like to say we have an inside job to be efficient and effective as an organization, and we've got an outside job to help move St. Louis forward, full steam ahead. So I want to share what our initiatives are for 2021 and give you a preview into our work for 2022. The initiatives listed here are things that we will work on all year long. I am still new and am committed to onboarding, meeting with you, meeting with our community, continuing to listen, learn, and respond to our environment. making sure that we maintain our current grantee payment schedule. So for those of you that received grants from us in the 2019-2020 cycle, we will work very diligently to maintain the payment schedule of quarterly payments. Last year, because of our revenue loss, we paid general operating support grants at 25%. We paid program support grants at 40%. Our plan and budget is to maintain that level for 2021. Of course, depending on our revenues, we may have to make adjustments. We will also maintain our capacity building STL program schedule in partnership with the DeVos Institute. And last but not least, we will partner with our Community Arts Training Institute, CAT, advisory committee to build the infrastructure to engage our alumni. Our CAT alum are amazing, and we want to partner with them directly to engage and continue to move RAC forward. So we will work all year on these 4 initiatives. Next, I'd like to share key projects that we plan to complete by quarter. In first quarter, we diligently worked on getting an approved budget and plan, as well as we completed our fiscal year 2020 audit. I encourage you to visit our website to read it for further detail about our financial situation. In quarter 2, we are focused on strengthening our board governance. We recently completed a Sunshine Law refresher course, and we have welcomed several new board members to the commission, and will be focused on making sure that they are prepared to lead. In addition to evolving our website, we plan to launch a new CRM, a customer relationship management system, so that we can stay connected to all our various stakeholders. We also need to fundraise. RAC cannot do the work that it needs to do solely with sales, hotel motel sales tax. Our plan is to position ourselves to benefit from federal and national grants and make very strategic asks at the regional and local level. So we will work this year to identify strategic opportunities for fund development. And last but not least, in second quarter, we will be focused on identifying a go-forward path for the Community Resource Center. The center will be closed to the public for the remainder of 2021 due to financial and staffing constraints. We will not host events and or people in the building. We will take this year to identify how best to utilize our space in service to the arts sector and the community. In third and fourth quarter, we will be focused on completing several internal, operational, and administrative initiatives that include HR and IT optimization. We will also be focused on increasing our presence and our work in public art. People are safer outside, and we believe that RAC is well positioned to lead in public art for our region, and we will be focused on that. We will announce more in third quarter. We will also, again, partner with the St. Louis Community Foundation on an artist relief fund. We want to ensure that we are able to get dollars to artists and arts organizations. We will not host a formal or traditional artists grants program in 2021 because we are transitioning to a new grant making system and grant application process. Over the last several years, we used Fluid Review as our grant making system. That is a service of SurveyMonkey, which will be discontinued at the end of this month, actually today. So we are working to adopt a new grants management system, and we'll use the remainder of this year to prepare to receive grants in January of 2022. We will also make some very targeted DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion grants this year with key partners. More information on that will be available later this year. And last but not least, we will work to strengthen our internal infrastructure so that we can position ourselves to have more data and research that supports our efforts in arts sector advocacy and cultural tourism marketing. There are several projects that we will be working on this year for launch in next year. We will launch a new grant program with new guidelines and a new application in January of 22 for both artists and arts organizations. We will have program support grants as well as general operating grants with guidance and guidelines that meet the needs of what we have learned from our experiences this year and last year. We will also execute on our Gio Obata Arts Management Fellowship in partnership with the Gateway Foundation. And we will have a new initiative to advance arts education through a collective impact initiative. So these are things that we will be working on this year to execute in 2022. One of the hardest experiences in my first 100 days at RAC has been the additional displacement of staff. It was already challenging coming into the organization, adjusting to the loss of staff in the second half of 2020. But after joining RAC, we realized we could not meet our 15% statutory requirement with the current staffing model, which meant even more positions at RAC would need to be eliminated. Marcus Westbooks, Sarah Fry, Yvonne Holland, Emily Parker were displaced last month. Our two executive leaders, Sherry Sissick and Erica Fiola, were displaced this month. Sherry worked at RAC for 8 years. Her numerous contributions in marketing, communications, operations, and stakeholder engagement built RAC's brand reputation across the St. Louis region. Erica Fiola joined RAC 3 years ago, leading our strategic initiatives, and then took on grant making. Her thoughtful and diligent leadership of our grants and programs enabled RAC to not only fulfill its mission and have greater impact on the community. Each of these team members served RAC passionately during their tenures and maintained their commitment to our artists and arts organizations, grantees, through this very dark time. I know many of you have worked with Marcus, Sarah.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Because I'm not talking to my phone. Many of you have worked with Marcus, Sarah, Yvonne, Emily, Erica, and Sherry. I encourage you to keep them in your thoughts and prayers and encourage and support them as they pursue their next career opportunity. They will surely be missed by RAC. We are bruised, but we are not broken. I am grateful to Rita Dillard and Chloe Smith, who remain on our team and not only are doing the work of their current roles, but they're taking on new and additional responsibilities to ensure that we not only survive this season, but we're able to thrive well into the future. Yes, our team is lean, but we are mighty and we are committed to RAC's mission. We are also grateful to the outstanding vendors, partners, and consultants that work with us to ensure that our finance and accounting, legal, communications, IT, and other administrative and operational functions are carried out with excellence. And we are also supported by the engagement of our commissioners, who lend not only their hands, but their hearts to help this team get the job done. So here's what you can count on from RAC. The financial and social impacts of COVID-19 have been tough, and we have been stretched. But your kindness, your thoughtfulness, and your extension of grace has buoyed us. Grant making remains our #1 priority, and we will get as much money as we can to artists and arts organizations in 2021. We will also maintain timely and transparent communication with you using all of our platforms. We will host another town hall just like this one in the 4th quarter of this year to keep you up to date and to answer your questions. We will also ask for your engagement as we continue to implement the strategic plan. We are here and we welcome connecting with you. RAC is moving St. Louis forward full steam ahead. St. Louis is blessed with a beautiful, diverse, and robust arts and culture community. To ensure that our creative economy thrives, is essential to our region's social and financial resilience and sustainability. To manifest our vision of ensuring a full creative life for every St. Louisan, we will be focused on 3 things over the next 5 years: grants and programs for artists and arts organizations, public art administration, and art sector advocacy and cultural tourism marketing. We welcome your feedback and engagement and your support to meet our mission, and we thank you in advance for your engagement and partnership. Andrea, back to you for our Q&A.
Great. Thank you so much to Vanessa, and a big welcome to you. And thank you as well to Mont. Okay, I see those questions are rolling into our Q&A as well as our chat, and we appreciate it. Keep them coming. We're going to start off with the pre-submitted questions, and here's the first one. Vanessa, will artist grants and fellowships continue? And if so, when?
Thank you for that pre-submitted question. Yes, artist grants and
Hang tight, folks. Looks like we're having just a bit of technology challenges here. Mont,
Yeah.
would you mind fielding the first question?
Sure. So artists and fellowship grants, I think, as Vanessa touched on, will begin again in 2022. The 2021, we have taken our greatly reduced revenues, budgeted what we can to provide the grants that, again, Vanessa described, and we'll look to begin artist fellowship grants again in 2022.
Great, thank you, Mont. I'll jump in while we're waiting for Vanessa. The next question is, what will the theater and cultural institutions' safety guidelines look like when the public is allowed to return? As Vanessa mentioned in her talk, while RAC is not directly involved in the implementation of safety and healthy protocols, we do support the Missouri Arts Safety Alliance and all of their hard work. And we encourage you to visit their website and the arts organization's website for the latest resources. Let's just keep going. How about it, Mont?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, our next question. Will RAC open up the grant program to non-arts organizations such as churches, schools, or public service organizations that have art programs?
Yeah. This is certainly one of the most difficult questions we received as we converted our program support grants last year to operating support grants. The notion was that RAC dollars needed to support arts organizations if we were going to provide general operating support. And we had very limited dollars, as everybody has heard and knows from last year. And so the difficult decision was made that in order to provide our arts organizations with as much money as we could at that reduced level, that we would not be able to provide funding to those organizations that did arts programming, but were not arts organizations. This is not a permanent state of affairs for RAC. We look forward absolutely to returning funding to arts programming throughout our community and recognize that many of those programs are produced by non-arts organizations. I see Vanessa is coming back, and so I will let her take over as soon as she's able. Welcome back, Vanessa.
thank you. The joys of technology.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mont, for pitching in. I really appreciate it. Hey, Vanessa, I'll throw the next question to you. Will RAC continue hosting exhibits? And if so, who's the best person to submit a proposal to?
This year in 2021, our Cultural Resource Center and Gallery will remain closed to the public. We will have a committee of the commission as well as community stakeholders to help us figure out the go forward plan for the building and determine if we will open it back to the public in 2022. So right now, no, we are not hosting exhibits in 2021. We will share more information after the summer.
Great, thank you. Next question. Can the general operating support grant criteria be extended to include additional overhead expenses such as rental and leasing payments?
We are reviewing our 2021 reporting requirements for our current grantees, and we'll be communicating directly with them what our needs are in terms of our current grant making. We are also looking at what our requirements will be for 2022 when we launch our new grant making application and guidelines. So thank you for this question, and we will certainly take it into consideration.
How will RAC provide better operational support for cultural practitioners and art founders?
RAC is committed to advancing capacity building and arts administration training through our grants and programs. We know how important this is. We got a lot of feedback from artists and arts organizations, and so we will be increasing capacity building and arts administration training to better support our artists and founders and our arts practitioners. So you'll see that in the programs that we launch in 2022.
This next question is about the board commission terms. Are there term limits for members of the RAC Board of Commissioners? And if so, what's the duration of their service?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So it's important to understand that RAC was created by state statute. That statute provides that RAC commissioners will serve a 4-year term and will continue to serve until their replacement has been named by the appropriate official, either the mayor or the county executive. That has resulted over the years in people remaining on the commission for years and years, as you heard as I described the tenure of folks like Eva Fraser and Michael Scully. In our recent work on the governance committee, we have revised our bylaws. We can't control when the mayor or county executive will make appointments, but we can do our best to promote good governance. And so our new bylaws provide that we will make nominations to the respective official, the mayor or county executive. And we have set for ourselves a guideline that no one will be nominated by our nominating committee who has served 2 consecutive terms, so a maximum of 8 years. Whether the county executive and mayor respond to that, we don't know, although I would like to report that we have been getting a much more responsive answer from both of them in recent months, and which is why we've gotten several new commissioners appointed. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Mont and Vanessa. Granted that RAC's Board of Commissioners provides requisite oversight to RAC staff and operations, who or what branch of city county government is the Board of Commissioners beholden to?
Well, again, what I would say is we are appointed by the respective heads of the county and city government. I think what we would say is our role, our mandate is to promote and support the arts and culture in the St. Louis region. And I think we are responsive to the citizens of this community and to the arts and artists in this community. That's why we exist.
Great. When provided, how does RAC plan to distribute funds obtained by the American Resource Plan Act to rebuild the arts and culture sector in St. Louis?
We are excited about the potential that this stimulus will have on the arts sector, whether it's the funding provided through NEA, NEH, and or directly to the city of St. Louis. Arts are vital to this region, and we will partner with all of our elected officials at the state, local, national level to help move St. Louis forward full steam ahead. RAC will leverage our grants and programs, our public art administration, and cultural tourism as platforms for resources that come to us either through the American Rescue Plan Act or other resources. But we're very excited that art will have a seat at these tables.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes our pre-submitted questions. And now we will take a look at the questions in the Q&A as well as the chat. And my goodness, there are lots of fantastic questions in here. Keep them coming. We'll spend the remainder of our time answering as many questions as we can. Vanessa, speaking of artists at the table, our first question is, I'll couple it together. Are there any artists on your board, and would RAC consider adding an artist representative to the commission? This was asked by a cat, meow, to you out there. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Thank you. And I'll also ask Mont to chime in. One of the things that I love about the commission is not only the diversity, but also the personal interest. Andrea is an artist, so thankful for that. And many of our commissioners either have professional training in the arts and or artists themselves and or have worked directly in the arts sector. So yes, we do have artists on our board, and we also engage very directly with our cats. And I'm seeing in the chat like how much activity there is. So Mont, I'll turn it to you.
Yeah, no, I'd also like to add that Heather Cochran, I mean, one of the reasons that she was such an attractive candidate is that she's vice provost and acting dean of the Sam Fox Art, School of Art. She is also an artist herself. And so she brings both an institutional artist knowledge as well as a personal artist knowledge. And so we are thrilled to have that additional representative.
Fantastic, thank you. We've got another question saying, I'm unable to get answers to my simple questions, like when is the deadline for grants for 2020? I've submitted grants for a few years and had a great time with staff before COVID.
I agree. COVID has had a significant impact on our staff. My hope is that through this town hall, all of our attendees have gotten answers to their questions. I greatly appreciate the patience and the grace that our stakeholders have extended to us. Again, we will not have a formal and what we traditionally host as a grant application in 2021. This year, our arts organizations who are receiving money from the 2019 and 2020 grant cycle will continue to receive those grants at the highest possible amounts that we're able to give based on our revenue. But we are working this year to prepare to launch a new grant system, application, and guidance for both artists and arts organizations in January of 2022. So we appreciate your patience. We know this is hard, but know that this is directly in response to our situation with revenues.
Okay. Mont, perhaps you can fill this one. Why did the leadership role change from executive director to two positions of both president and CEO? What's the difference? What's the benefit? And how does this impact the taxpayer funded compensation?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm also going to ask Vanessa to supplement whatever I say. But I would say that increasingly what you're seeing around the country is arts funders are led by presidents and CEOs, not executive directors. I think, frankly, there is no necessarily functional difference, because we've always felt that both our executive director and now Vanessa in her position with this title had the same authority. But I think there is both a sense of responsibility that goes along with these titles. There's an esteem that goes along with these titles that I think is good for both RAC and the community. It doesn't impact the taxpayer funded compensation at all. In the process of searching for our new leader, we were very clear that we were setting a salary that we could afford, but was appropriate for somebody with the level of responsibility that we are hiring. And I will tell you, Vanessa was one of the prime movers of the change of title that we agreed to. So I'm going to ask Vanessa to fill in.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mont. What you said was perfect. The role in the region and RAC's role and what the strategic plan demands in terms of being an advocate, a partner, and a catalyst really does require leading at the executive level, having seats at the table. And just like Mont said, the trend across many in the nonprofit sector is moving to the president and CEO title. It's consistent with my peer arts funder organizations, and rest assured, this does not have an impact on the taxpayer dollars. I willingly and voluntarily did take a salary and compensation decrease coming into this role, recognizing that COVID-19 has a significant impact on our revenues. So I am definitely doing my part, and the taxpayers are getting their money's worth the work that we're producing.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Do you believe you can continue your current staffing until the funding returns? And also, it was a thank you for recognizing those staff that had lost their jobs due to the income collapse.
Well, thank you all. And like I said, please, as you engage with Marcus, Sarah, Emily, Yvonne, Sherry, and Erica, please encourage them. We miss them tremendously on this team. It's a significant loss. And we are lean, but we do have the right team in place, Rita, Chloe, and myself, as well as our partners and vendors and our commissioners. So we have been very careful not to overcommit this year and focus on the things that need to be done. It may take longer than what you've been accustomed to in terms of our response time, but we promise to get to you. And our commitment is to rebuild this staff as revenues turn around. Just like I showed in that chart, every year RAC is going to get new dollars, and hopefully with our fund development strategy, we'll get dollars and revenue from other sources. And our priority will be to staff back up responsibly and focus on roles that the organization needs today and into the future.
Perfect segue into the next question, which is, if RAC is seeking local grant sources, will RAC be competing with funding with RAC grantees?
Our plan is to start with national grant sources, particularly with the America Rescue Plan Act and resources that are being made available through the NEA and the NEH. Our team has been partnering to understand and connect with resources at that level, and certainly at the local level, if there are resources that can be made available to RAC in a non-competitive way, we will make ourselves available to that. So ensuring that we don't compete with our grantees has been a priority, will continue to be a priority.
Thank you so much. We have time for just I'm sorry, Mont, go ahead.
I could just jump in because I saw a comment from Olivia, and I tried to make reference to it. Yes, in 2020, there was a first round of layoffs. And so while we have focused on our most recent layoffs, this has been a really difficult time in saying goodbye to really valued team members of RAC. And so to those that we lost in the early part of 2020, our same feelings, our same desire for support from us and the community is present.
Thanks for that, Mont. And we also want to make mention, we really appreciate the questions that are coming in. And for those that we don't have a chance to answer in this webinar, we will provide a FAQ on our website answering the questions that we didn't get a chance to today. So thank you so much for that. Is there a possibility that arts organizations that have a university or college as a parent institution will be eligible for RAC funding again in the future?
Yes, actually, there are several organizations that RAC has historically funded whose primary mission may not be defined as a traditional arts organization, but provide arts programming to our citizens. And we made an intentional decision last year to limit our funding to arts organizations because of the revenue situation. That will continue in 2021 because of our challenged revenue, but certainly it is not intended to be a long-term go-forward strategy. And as we have more resources, we do plan to invest in a variety of organizations that provide arts to our citizens.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear because, again, this is a bit more historical than what happened just last year, which was there was a very conscious decision given limited funding under the prior executive director to say we would not be funding universities and colleges. No specific decision has been made with regard to changing that policy, but I do know that as we go through this process of looking at a new grants program, grants procedure, grants eligibility, that question will certainly be looked at.
Great, thank you. Again, really, really fantastic questions coming in. It sounds like we probably need to do another town hall pretty quickly. Let me just jump to maybe one or two more. How does RAC plan to navigate all the institutional knowledge lost from the layoff of your senior staff and turnaround of board members?
Well, I can speak to the senior staff. We were very diligent from the first round of layoffs in 2020. The staff that was here worked very carefully and thoughtfully about ensuring that we had the necessary documentation and conversations. There's no way to really recover everything perfectly. Like, this is truly a loss. But what we have tried to do in strengthening our organizational infrastructure is to document process, make sure that we have conversations and invite a variety of stakeholders to the table to make sure that we keep the best of our history and position us to move forward in the future. But it is hard. It is very hard.
Once the new application process begins in January of 22, will the grant cycle be a 1-year cycle or a 2-year cycle?
We're not sure yet. We know that particularly for our general operating support, multi-year support is very helpful. We are taking feedback, studying best practices, and will announce the new cycle. Our intention is to be efficient and effective in our grant making. And so when we do launch, I think you all will be pleased.
Okay, will there be similar grant levels for artist grants when they open up again?
Not sure yet. A lot of our levels are dependent on our revenue levels. Like I said, we are going to focus on strategic fund development. We are hopeful that things turn around and folks start visiting and staying in hotels in our region again. That's starting to happen. But our levels will be contingent upon our revenue levels. But one thing that you can count on is that we will be clear in our communication, and that our intention is to always get as much resources to artists and arts organizations as we can. We want dollars in the community to make this community stronger.
Yeah, and I would just ask, I mean, I know that some of the lack of information is frustrating because we all want to have more certainty in our lives than we've been able to have. And again, I would just ask for the community's patience and understanding that Vanessa has, just begun the process of onboarding, There's a lot of things that are being considered that will be looked at as funding begins to get restored again. We will do our very, very best to create a prioritization that meets the expectations of the community. It's just the very nature, of course, of any funder that we have limited funding. And the one thing, unfortunately, I can promise is not everybody is going to be 100% satisfied, but we will do our best.
Okay, thank you so much. And last question, Vanessa. And again, those questions that we don't get a chance to answer today, please check back on our website soon for answers with all of your questions that were not addressed today. Vanessa, as a new leader, they're wanting to know more about you and your experience. Share one thing in the arts community that you enjoy doing here in St. Louis.
Oh my gosh, I have been so fortunate I've lived in St. Louis for 13 years. I've been here longer than I've been anywhere, and I love our arts community. One of my favorite aspects of our community is live performing arts, from jazz at the Bistro to the St. Louis Symphony to Dance St. Louis. I love attending live performances. I love visual art. Many of you in this community know me from my role at Wells, but I miss that. And just like all of us, we look forward to continuing to find ways to engage in art in our community safely and have more experiences together. But I am a big fan of performing arts.
Great. Thank you so much, Vanessa. Thank you, Mont. And thank you to everyone who has joined us today for this town hall. We really appreciate you attending and your questions. And at this time, we'll talk about our call to action, and that is simply to stay engaged. Stay tuned. Check out our RAC newsroom, share this information with others. Also, you can find more information, as Vanessa mentioned, with MESA that can talk to you more about opening safely. You can subscribe to our website, and again, be sure to share the information with the community. All right, I'm gonna get off script for just a second, and those of you out there that know me, right? This is hard. It's been tough. It's been challenging. We lost amazing people in this organization. I'm seeing in the chat, right, all of the hellos from the St. Louis Artworks and hello from Cabaret Project St. Louis. And we want you to know from the bottom of our heart, we miss you. We miss you being in this space. We miss you being creative. We miss you being artists all across the city of St. Louis on every amazing stage that we have. And we're trying our best to come back and come back even stronger and better than possible. Give us time, give us grace. We are here for your questions, and I promise you an answer will be coming to you soon. Again, I simply want to thank you. Thank you for the time that you have spent with us today. This concludes our town hall, simply our first one, but definitely not our last one. Again, we thank you for joining us. Your continued support to the Regional Arts Commission, as well as your support to the arts in our entire St. Louis ecosystem. Goodbye, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Take good care, St. Louis. Bye-bye.
Thank you.